Wise words by an unknown author reads, and I quote, "Behind the child that makes the most progress is an actively involved parent," end quote. It is my esteemed pleasure to recognize the Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin, our Minister of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, Mrs. Lorraine Brister, Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Dominique McCartney Russell, Director of Education, Deputy Directors, Assistant Directors of Education, Education Officers, educators, school board, and PTA presidents, along with their executive teams, and certainly you, our many supportive parents. We are pleased that you have joined us to receive information pertinent to your children's success as it relates to the education of our nation's darlings. Good evening. I am Janice Moss, Deputy Director of Education Designate with responsibility for schools management within the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training. This evening, I am honored to serve as your moderator for this timely session. But before we proceed, we invite Assistant Director of Education, Mr. Michael Culmer, to lead us in prayer. ADE Culmer.
The Lord in prayer. Our gracious God, we lift up to you the education system of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. God, we lift up our minister whom you have called to lead us in such a time as this. God, we lift up the executive team. We lift up especially, Father God, the administrators, teachers, students, parents, clerical, and support staff. We lift up every parent of a student and guardians in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. God, we pray the covering of your Holy Spirit and the blood of Jesus Christ over our schools. God, we pray that you would help us all to be agents of peace, agents of love, and help us all to show compassion. God, now as we are approaching the end of the school term, God, we pray your wisdom. God, we pray that you would help us all to endeavor, students, teachers, administrators, to be our best. And now, God, we lift up this meeting to you. We pray for the benefit for our parents and our students, and we pray that our efforts would go forth and reap a bountiful harvest. In the name of Jesus.
Thank you, ADE Culmer, for leading us to the throne of God. The research is overwhelmingly clear. When parents play an important role in their children's education, students do better in school, parents. We unite this evening on the invitation of our Minister of Education in her pursuit to promote a stronger partnership within the Ministry of Education. Evidently, working together to collaborate can only ensure our students' success. Before we move any further, please note that our question and answer will follow at the end of the presentation. Many of you have questions which you have sent in via email, and you are also invited to send questions in this Zoom chat. Our hardworking, dedicated, selfless Director of Education, Mrs. Dominique McCartney Russell, will now bring remarks. Director?
I also say good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you, our parents in the virtual space. You joined us in August 2023, and now we have you here again this afternoon, and we are so elated to partner with you, ensuring that your children get the best quality education that they can. And so I wish to say to you parents, we are so pleased that you have joined us, and we want to talk about the examination period tonight. As you may be aware, some of our children struggle with exams. They have test anxieties. And so we wanted to give you some tips to support your children at home as they prepare for those theory exams next week. A 2020 UNESCO report revealed that our students' social and emotional experiences influence the learning process and in turn affect their learning outcomes. There is a psychosocial connection in student learning and student studying. And studies have shown that the shifting from face-to-face to the online learning has caused some anxiety amongst our children, psychosocial, and in some cases, psychological distresses. And so this evening, you will hear from some of our dynamic colleagues who will give you a wealth of information that will assist you in preparing our children, yours and ours, to succeed in their upcoming examinations next week. Parents, we want to remind you we are partners. We are here. We encourage you. This is an important mission. Progressive Bahamas is an educated Bahamas, and so we understand our role. And as the minister has advanced, every child counts. Every child must receive quality educational opportunities so that they can become productive and successful members of our country and, of course, in the world at large. And so your active participation in their preparation will make a world of difference in their confidence, in their motivation, and, of course, in their overall performance. Last but not least, I wish to recognize our team members in schools management who are facilitating this important meeting with you, along with our minister, Glenys Hanna Martin. And I am certain that the information shared this evening will assist many of you with ensuring that our children are prepared for success as we partner with you for their success. A pleasant good evening. I look forward to your questions, and we look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Madam Director, for your concise and timely remarks. Coming now to bring remarks and introduce our esteemed Minister of Education is our supportive and adept Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Lorraine Ambrista. P.S. Ambrista.
Thank you so very much, DDE Designate Moss, and a pleasant evening to all of you, in the first instance to our Acting Prime Minister, the Honorable Glenys Hanna Martin, who, so be very careful. She can accomplish quite a lot tonight. She's Acting Prime Minister.
Let's do this.
So as what I recognize the presence of the Acting Prime Minister and, of course, our esteemed Director, and to all of our education colleagues, it's always a pleasure to see all of you. And I say a special hello to all of our parents who are joining us virtually. Let me just say that, as the Director has said, the Minister's adage is, in fact, the adage of this entire ministry has been every child counts. And to all of you persons who will have listened to Minister's back to school message, you realize that Minister had two themes. Every child counts, and she said, and it takes a village. She continued to say that throughout her remarks. And certainly that village begins with parents. That village begins with the role of supportive, loving, nurturing parents. And so we're very pleased that you've joined us tonight for this forum. And I want to say a special thank you to all of our education colleagues. They've done so much to further the cause of education. You've been in the trenches, advancing and helping this education effort. And I want to say thank you to all of you. And as a student who was, as a person who was always very frightened at exam times, I could tell you I was frightened. I appreciate this opportunity for our parents to have this nurturing opportunity to calm their students, to calm the butterflies. So I wish when I was a student I had that opportunity to have this kind of engagement. But certainly I don't think that our minister needs any introduction, our acting prime minister. That says it all. The fact that she's acting prime minister, that should tell you. But certainly everybody will know that minister is an attorney by profession. She's a very well-established minister in the government. This is her third time around. So before I get in any trouble, I just want to say welcome to all parents. Thank you, colleagues, for all the hard work you continue to do. And the honorable minister, honorable acting prime minister needs no introduction. Madam Acting Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. I appreciate it greatly. Good evening to all of our parents who have joined us tonight. And I just want to say this is one of many meetings that we have had with parents. We're going to continue this. We need more parents to join in because, as you've heard, your child will succeed when the support of the parent is in place. Yes, we're the ministry. Yes, we have the teachers. Yes, we have the classrooms. Yes, we have the curriculum and all these things, but the role of the parent is critical. And we want to emphasize that tonight, as we've done in other meetings, because it is your input that helps our efforts and your child's efforts. In that regard, and I have some briefing notes here, I'm going to get to them, but, you know, a lot of what young people are learning today might be over the head of most of us, and I will confess to being one of them because, you know, it's 21st century cutting edge. You don't necessarily have to understand the content. What you have to do, though, is to encourage and support and to ensure that the assignments are completed and that you're monitoring what's happening in the classroom with your child, that you have a relationship with the teacher, and that you are following your child's progress. These are critical steps. And, you know, the student is learning in the classroom, and so that the brain is functioning in that way. But there's a part of the brain and the emotional self of the child, which is depending on the parent to show interest and to collaborate. And I know you know that already, but this is something that, you know, I don't feel that we are having the level of support of parents nationwide that is required. And we're going to do all that we can to ensure parents get on board with your child's education. Don't delegate everything to us here in the Ministry of Education. You have a part to play, a role to play, and it's a missing piece when that is not in place. And so I just wanted to say that. But this is one of many meetings that we've had already. We will continue to have them. The issue tonight, I think, is examinations, and the experts are here and they'll speak to that. But what we have sought to do also, though, is to ask schools to support students in their preparation for exams. So if there's a Saturday class, please ensure your child goes there, goes to that class. If it's after hours or during a lunch break, please encourage your child to participate. We don't want to stress them out. Examinations can be stressful. We want them to pace themselves and to prepare, because once you prepare, the stress level is reduced. Even though I think there's some natural stress, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that brings the adrenaline and that helps performance. But we don't want young people to be overwhelmed. So the preparation is key. And I just want to say, just quickly, that as you have heard, that we have a number of initiatives underway. The Find Every Child was getting on the ground and getting children back into school. That continues. We have attendance officers every day tracking children. We have established a hotline, and I can do a press conference very soon on that, to identify where children, you notice patterns, children are home for extended periods of time and they ain't making no sense. We have a confidential hotline. That's for the well-being of the child. As you may also know, we did the Renaissance testing. We had 3 rounds. We tested many thousands of children nationwide. We got a brief yesterday on that. There's a lot of encouraging data that has come out of that. And additionally, for those children in primary school, you may have noted that we have shifted the curriculum so that in grade 1, 2, and 3, the first term brings an emphasis on literacy and numeracy, because we want children to have a firm foundation by the time they get to high school. We don't want them being overwhelmed, overtaken, and feeling lost in the woods. And that's happening to a large extent now. And the other, what we're also now going to launch a parent engagement unit, and I believe it's already started because we want parents who are stakeholders to have a stake in this thing. And let me just say, we've met with lots of children, so there's little dysfunctionalities, and we find that, the parental thing plays a huge role in how children are able to stabilize on the school campus. And so we want to encourage parents to become actively involved in the way in which you can. I'm not do the homework because we ain't expecting that, and I know I can't do it, but that we support them so that they're able to, have that, that guidance and support, and also the leadership in the household to ensure these things are done. The other thing that we've done is a national breakfast program, now in a pilot in 8 schools, 4 in New Providence, 4 on the islands, Grand Bahama, West Holmes Rock, Abaco, Cherokee Sound, Exuma. Where's it in Exuma? I can't remember. It's in Exuma, and also in, oh Lord, there's a 4th one, but there are 4 islands where these, where the breakfast program has launched. This is a critical exercise. It's not just a public relations exercise. There is empirical data that links a sound breakfast to learning and to attendance. And so this is a purposeful intervention in our children learning and in attending school. And I think there's some advice is going to come. I'm not giving all the advice on the exams. No, good, okay. So I just want to say to all of our parents, we are with you, we support you. Your children are of interest to us. We want them to do well. We celebrate their attainment. And on the last thing I will say is the issue of special education. For those parents who have children with special needs, I believe when I last was told or was briefed, we cleared the waiting list. So we found classrooms for every child who was waiting to get in a classroom. But where we're facing a challenge now is in the testing and the diagnosis. And we have a strategy underway, which I will speak of at a later time, which is going to allow us to shorten, abbreviate, or take away waiting time for testing of children who are suspected to have special needs. We've incorporated special needs children into the Government High campus. I saw some photographs of these young boys with special needs engaging in technical and vocational skills, carpentry and all of that. And these students are also now, I think they share physical education classes with the larger population. They're integrating socially. All of these things help special needs children to grow and flourish. This is what we want to do in the classroom with our young people. And we know they're not one-dimensional. They're different. They have different talents and skills and strengths. We understand that. And we want the curriculum to appreciate what your child brings to the table. And where they need assistance, because we know they do post-pandemic, we are engaged now in what we call pull-out sessions, where students who need support, that they are getting that support in literacy and numeracy. And we're doing this across the board. Just this week, we're going to be launching a special project on psychosocial intervention and support for young people, because we don't like to talk about it, but young people, some of them have mental health issues. Sometimes it's genetic, sometimes it's to do with circumstances they're facing at home or with peers, and sometimes it's because of the isolation, the pandemic. It's multifaceted. We want to acknowledge that fact, to bring it into the open, and to take away stigma, and to support young people. We have to ensure our young people come out of our school system with the support of our parents and our teachers and our administrators and the community at large, healthy and whole, and are able to progress and meet their full potential. It's not just rhetoric, it's our definitive, purposeful effort for these young people. And so join with us and let us ensure that your child becomes all your child can possibly be. We just announced the 4th Rhodes Scholar in this country, the 4th. We have more Rhodes Scholar than any nation in the world. But not every child is a Rhodes Scholar. They could be a brilliant musician or great technical and vocational thing. We didn't talk about that tonight. We have great efforts underway. And we have revised the high school diploma, which provides a more equitable foundational basis for children to move through the system and to not a lower standard, more equitable standard that recognizes the different talents. So parents, stick with us, work with us. It's not easy, but we have to do the hard work to make it happen. Thank you very much.
Now, parents, when I say our minister is visionary, she's passionate, she's dynamic, and she means business when it comes to the children of our nation. Thank you, Minister, for those inspiring and timely remarks. Parents, it's not unusual for children to get extremely nervous during examination time. Now, when you think about when you were in school, I know when examinations were coming around, I get fidgety. But coming now to present tips on how we can calm our students during this time is Counselor Miss Samantha Wells. Miss Wells.
So much ADDE Moss. I stand upon the protocol that has been established. Good evening, parents. It is indeed a pleasure to discuss with you this evening quieting the butterflies as we go into examination mode. Stress and anxiety, that's a real topic, right? I want to start off by saying that we are the product of society, of our society, and our culture in which we are raised. And according to one of my favorite poets, Maya Angelou, she says, we are the sum total of everything we have experienced, whether good or bad. It is important to remember that you can choose the positive and learn from the negative. Parents, I want to engage you for a few minutes in a conversation by starting by saying that every student is different. Every child in your house is different. And so education, the purpose of education is to socialize our children in society by teaching cultural values and norms, hence preparing them with the skill sets to become productive members of society. And note that I said productive members of society. A common language that is spoken in our society towards children, we've all heard it in growing up, is children don't have no problems. They don't have no worries. What are you talking about, right? However, we know that this is a myth and far from the truth. And so parents, tonight, I want you to sit back for a few minutes with me, and I want us to dive into this whole conversation about anxiety. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, the mental health of our children and teens have grown since COVID. But one of the key things that I want us to keep in mind is that not only has it grown since COVID, I want us to note that even prior to COVID, we would have seen the changing trends of the mental state of our students. According to the World Health Organization, and we just say WHO, defines anxiety as a feeling of unease. Have you ever been in a state where you felt uneasy, or you were worrying or feeling fearful, which can be a mild or a severe one? Some of these symptoms of anxiety can lead to an anxiety disorder. So you can have a mild feeling that doesn't require much intervention, just breathing techniques or just someone talking you down. But as the mental state of a child deteriorates or a person deteriorates, we now develop into anxiety disorders, which will require more intervention. And so, parents, I want you to feel comfortable in having this conversation about anxiety. I also want to add that and remind us that at some point in all of our lives, we feel anxious. We've experienced stress. And our children, as they grow, they face life and the changes of life and the demands of life. The responsibility of school and the demands of school are heavy. I don't want us to be even kidding about this, right? School could be heavy, and there's a lot of responsibilities. And higher education requires you to focus. And so therefore, sometimes the stress levels, they grow. And sometimes students, they have a fear of failure. Have you ever had a fear of failure? A fear of disappointing those who you look up to? And parents, your children are looking up to you, and so therefore, they too may have the fear of failing and the fear of disappointing themselves and disappointing you. But not only that, what about the kid who may not be the best student academically? And because they don't feel like there's a place for them, they feel discouraged and they feel as if there is no place for them. So then they too feel a sense of feeling overwhelmed and anxious. And so I want to encourage the use of positive language with our children. Parents, speaking words of affirmation can empower them to find their voice, gain self-confidence, and most importantly, boost self-esteem. So these tips of test taking and anxiety and how it comes about, I just want to give you 3. It says the child may exhibit a fear of failure. So if you notice that your son or your daughter, every time it comes down to examination, the conversation of examination, there is this pressure, there is this closing up, then I want you to pay attention to that because they are exhibiting some fear. And fear is normal, right? But that fear that causes you to break down and not be able to function is a problem. Lack of preparation. Now, I want to just say to you, preparation is key. So sometimes the fear comes because I know I didn't prepare. Okay? And so therefore, parents, we want to encourage our kids, don't wait for the last minute. Examinations is next week. Let's start right now. And if you haven't started, let's get started, right? Because the reality is the teacher would have given them an outline of what to expect. Parents, you may not know the subject. That's okay. They don't have to know you don't know. You can just go through the steps and say, now, what did the teacher say? What is the subject? Are you practicing? All of this helps to relieve the fear and the stress that brings the anxiety down. Listen to me when I say to you, poor test history is a problem. Because if I have experienced a lot of failure, then I lack confidence. I don't believe in myself. So therefore, my productivity in test taking becomes an issue as well. And so I doubt my ability to do what? To excel. And so parents, I want you to pay attention to the child in your house who's, I guess, according to school standards, getting a lot of low grades. Pay attention to that because every child wants to feel like a winner. Won't you agree? Every child needs to feel like a winner. Our honorable minister would have indicated that, listen, it's not just the grades that matter. It's also the skill sets that our kids have, all right? So we want to remember that whatever they're good at, praise them with that. Remember to praise them because that's going to bring the anxiety down. That's going to remove some of the stress, and they're going to feel like a winner. So I want to leave you with this acronym, this model that I fell in love with, and it says SMILE. Isn't that something that we all can do? Smile in the midst of stress or feeling anxious. S says stay organized. Encourage your child to practice the prep work. So before the examination, in leading into examination mode, what are we doing in this house? We are practicing. We're practicing every day. If math is your issue, math was my issue. So you're going to do what? Get extra help, all right? So that at the end of the day, the child can feel like a winner. Now, I want to be real with you and say, If you notice that your child is responding differently, no matter what you've done, then it's time to have the conversation. Seek out the school counselor and let them know, listen, I've noticed a change in my child's behavior, in their attitude towards school, in their attitude towards examination and testing. They seem to be closing down and closing up. We have the experts in place to help you help your child. M says model calm. Listen to me. Calm is a very important thing because in the midst of all that is going on, you have to stay what? Calm. As a parent, I know you want to throw this and throw that, and you're looking and say, I'm making all these sacrifices, and yet still, what's going on? But parents, one of the strategies in reducing and preparing your child for examination is for you to stay calm, okay? And then encourage them in the environment, create a win-win environment at home. It is test-taking time home here in our house. So what's going on in your home? It's test-taking time. I says incorporate the energy. You want to have energy. You need that energy. They need to feed from your energy because if they feel that you feel that they're not going to do well, guess what? They don't feel like they're going to do well. They need to feel that someone feels proud about them. And so whatever we do today in bringing down the anxiety, quieting the butterflies, I want to say to you as parents, grades do matter. Because whether we like it or not, in the real world, we're going to need those grades. But most importantly, your child matters. And so support your child in the learning process. L says leverage the data. Now, this is my favorite part of Smile as I get ready to close. Because you as a parent, you know your child. And if you're having the conversation with the right people, then what you can do is you can cause a school, you can cause education to relook the way we look at anxiety and stress in the classroom. Teachers are stressing, students are stressing, so that means then the energy of stress is high. Students need to know that there is an environment at school where not only they can say to their school counselor that, hey, I'm struggling, but they also need to know that, hey, a room could be provided for me to sit my examination. I can be in another area doing the same exam, but in a calmer space. And so parents, if you don't talk and if you don't let us know what's going on, then we can't help. So I want to encourage you to help us help with the anxiety. And last but not least, embrace the continued conversation about how they are feeling. Listen to me. Knowing how your child feels is very important. Help them find their voice. Help them find their confidence. Seek out the indicators of what can I do to help reduce the anxiety and the stress. Remember, at the end of the day, we want to create a win-win experience for the child and for you, and yes, for education. Thank you.
Parents, that was real talk. I can assure you that if we use the tips presented, it will assist you in ensuring that our children are calm for sitting their upcoming exams. We know how to calm those butterflies. Parents, do you want your children to bring home all A's or to be successful in all their examinations? I know you do. And we do, we want that as well. Mrs. Latoya Burrows, Acting Education Officer for Home School, will tell you exactly how this can be done for our primary students. Immediately following her, you will hear from Mrs. Shannon White, District Superintendent for the Northern New Providence Secondary Schools, as she shares tips for our junior and senior high schools. Mrs. Burrows?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening, everyone. Now, effectively studying with your child. Don't send them to study. You must study with your child for exams can significantly enhance and improve their preparation as well as their confidence. So parents, Here are some helpful tips that can help you guide your children through this exam period. I hope you're listening. So, tip number 1 is to encourage a positive mindset. And I know what you're saying. What? Is this practical? Yes, this is very practical because you need to begin with the end in mind. So go into this exam period with the mindset that you and your child will be successful because they're not going to be successful on their own. It is a partnership between you and the child, as well as us in the education field. So you're going to sit with your child and you're going to make a goal for this exam period. If they were failing at midterm, that means that you need to sit and make a goal to do a little bit better. If they made a C, now we're going to make a B. If we made a B, we're going to make an A. So you need to set a goal. And also just remind your child of their capabilities. Every child is different, yes, yes, yes. But every child can show growth. Every child can show improvement. Every child can get better. So now, this is a big one. You need to give them something to work for. You know that old adage about dangling the carrot? You need to dangle the carrot. So talk with them about what they may want. Christmas is coming up. All right? This is the biggest motivation right now. So it may be a new toy, a new game, a new device, whatever it is that they want. You sit with your child after making the goal and you discuss the reward and you agree on it. It's okay to dangle the carrot. All right, just remember, you must come true. You just can't say, if you do this, I will get you that. And when they do that, you don't get it. So parents, we're going to hold ourselves accountable to our words. Now, here's tip number 2. You need to establish a conducive study environment at home. This means that there's an area in your house that you're going to set apart for study and practice to happen. There is no TV. There is no loud music. There is no devices for social media or game playing. It is study time. It's go time. All right? Make sure that there's proper lighting so that they can see. You don't want to strain their eyes at this time. And make sure there's comfortable seating because you don't need them to be fidgeting because primary school kids will move. So you need them to be nice and comfortable so that you're promoting focus and concentration. And then the last thing in this tip is to make sure that everything they need to study and practice is right there for them. That's their books, their papers, their writing tools, their notes, anything that they're going to need to study needs to be right there. You don't need them going back and forth from this room to the next room because guess what's going to happen? 1, they're going to waste time, and 2, they're going to get very, very distracted. So that's tip number 2. Let's go on to tip number 3. Tip number 3 is all about time management. So you have to plan your family's schedule. Now, there are kids doing so many things after school: ballet, dance, basketball, soccer. It may be time, parents, to put those things on hold during this testing period. All right? If you've gotten a review sheet, and you should have gotten one, if you have not, it's not too late to go to school first thing tomorrow morning and ask for one, because the review sheet is going to be a guide to help you to set a schedule for studying, and you're going to practice certain subjects on certain days. So also, parents, studying for hours and hours on end, that's a big no-no for primary students. You want to give them manageable chunks of time to study. So give them breaks, a little 20 minutes here, a 5-minute break to do some jumping jacks, jump up and down, skip, maybe play a quick game, and then back at it. All right, so this is time to study. Do not overdo it. And then make sure that every subject gets adequate time. especially those areas that they may have a little difficulty in. So if you know that math is a rough one, like it was for Miss Wells, you're going to need a little more time with math. So that's tip number 3. Now, let's go to tip number 4, parents. You're going to have to use different study methods. Not every child is the same. So, you have some children, they are visual learners. Those are your see it children. They see to learn. So these kids are going to need flashcards, color-coded notes. They're going to need diagrams, charts, pictures, even videos, because guess what? They need to look at it. So make sure that they have all of those visual cues that they need to learn for exams. And then you have those kids, once they hear it, that's it. They know it. They are our auditory learners. They listen and learn. Now, these children are going to benefit from notes being read aloud to them. So you as the parents sit there and read the notes. Ask them, do you understand what mommy just read? Do you understand what papi just read? And they're going to give the information back to you. These type of children, they love discussing. So have some discussion on the notes. And guess what? Music, because remember, they like to listen. So put those notes into songs. And if you're not that type of person, guess what? Go on YouTube. There are tons of videos of songs, of concepts that they can learn from. And then you have your kinesthetic learners. These are the ones that are doers. They are the ones that are not sitting still for longer than a minute. They have to be up doing something. So these type of learners needs hands-on activities. They need games to play. They need to dramatize their notes and act it out, all right? And that will help them to learn and remember. Go through their books, go through their papers, reviewing answers that they have done correctly. And those things that they got wrong, well, this is the opportune time now to practice, make corrections, and study these difficult concepts. And guess what? She said it before, you don't have to know everything because there's an app for that. Go online, Google it. I promise you, somebody out there has done a video, a worksheet, some papers, they're posted online. Use that resource to help study for your child. And let's go to tip number 5. This is very essential to get through the exam period. You're going to have to support a healthy lifestyle. So, nutritious food is fuel, not just for your body, but it's also fuel for your brain. So during exam week, parents, please, I am begging you, make sure that they get good meals in the night as well as in the morning and something nice for lunch, because a hungry child will not be able to focus on studying or doing their best during exams. And you don't want their belly growling while exams are going on. So you want to avoid things like lots and lots of sugar, because that's not going to help them to concentrate. Then you're going to have to get them to bed on time, because they need adequate sleep for that body and mind to be rested so that they can concentrate and get ready to practice all that they have studied. You don't want them up studying all night, because they're going to get up late, and when they get up late, what happens? All that rushing is going to fluster them, and you don't want them to be late for school. You don't want them to be flustered. You don't want them to possibly miss a portion of the exam or even an exam. And the last thing, why you want them to have good sleep, because you don't want them falling asleep in the exam, all right? You want them to be up, and then you don't want them dribbling on your exam papers. That's a real thing. It happens all the time. So make sure that they get some sleep. Lastly, you want to teach them to manage stress. And Mrs. Wells told us about that. Stress anxiety is a real thing, even at the primary level, all right? So sometimes I have seen it, parents, you have that child, they walk in and the teacher's doing review with them and they know those answers. They are ticking, but that paper goes in front of them and they go blank. And so you're going to have to teach them They need to do their deep breathing. They need to do their counting to 10. They need to find ways to calm themselves down so that they can think clearly, so that they can perform well on their examinations. Because positive thoughts can control our nerves and help us to focus. So, in case you missed most of what I said, remember, encourage a positive mindset, create the best environment at home for studying, set up a realistic study schedule, use those different study methods, and support a healthy lifestyle. By doing these things, parents, you are going to definitely ensure the growth and improvement and the success of your children. Thank you so much.
And parents in the virtual space. Mrs. Wells and Mrs. Burrows did such an excellent job. They have made my work very, very easy. But I want you to know, parents, that what I would have found is that parents gave children a lot of support in the primary school. And then when they matriculate to junior and senior school, the support ends. So I want to start off by saying that all that Mrs. Burrows just said applies to the junior and senior high school students as well. So my presentation will be a bit repetitive, but as we know, repetition is the key to mastery. So end of term examinations is a crucial time in the life of junior and senior high school students. And as Mrs. Wells said, can be extremely stressful for them. My task tonight is to share with you how you can help to create a positive home environment that would aid in your child performing well on his or her exams. As the director would have shared, examinations are happening as we speak in terms of today. We are actually sitting practical exams in the junior and senior high schools, and theory exams are set to begin next week, Monday, December 4th. So parents, if you did not know that, now you do. Parents, I am sure that you want your child to perform well on his or her exam. So here are a few strategies or recommendations that, when implemented, will benefit your child greatly. These tips ensure enhanced focus, improved productivity, reduced distractions, and, as Mrs. Burrows said, a positive mindset during your child's preparations for his or her exam. Firstly, it is important that you assist your child, your junior and senior high school child, in identifying, yes, a designated study space. Please do not leave it up to them to study on their bed. Ensure that the ideal space is quiet, calming, and well lit. It should have a flat working space because, as you know, in junior and senior high school, their math problems are a bit more involved than in the primary school. So ensure that they have a flat working space and it is well ventilated, the room. It is recommended that it is an area free from interruptions. So it should not be in the kitchen. It should not be at the breakfast counter. It should be free of distractions like the television and free of traffic, persons coming in and out of the room. Your child should be comfortable, but of course not too comfortable. We don't want them falling asleep. So definitely the bed is a no-no and should be avoided. Secondly, ensure that your child has all the study materials he or she needs to properly prepare for the exams. For example, they should have all their books, their notebooks, their workbooks. They should not be in the shelf or the cupboard in the teacher's room. Make sure they have their calculators with batteries, their geometry sets, internet access if needed, and study guides. Everything that they would need to practice questions like graph paper, ensure that they have that at home. And whatever is needed to review the topics that would be on the exam. Thirdly, as parents, you can help your child create, as Mrs. Johnson said, an exam study schedule. I know that you leave your children on their own to do that, but please ensure that they do that. Check it over with them. I encourage you to get a copy of your child's exam schedule. Most schools would have posted them on their Facebook page. Creating a study schedule will help your child's time to be better organized. Remember, it is important that your child schedule short breaks, as Mrs. Johnson said, after a specific amount of time of studying. Now, I know some children, they study at night. Some persons can go up to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning studying, even though we don't recommend that. But some persons study better during the day or during the night. So know what works best for your child. Fourthly, when it comes to studying effectively, there can be many distractions around, especially for the teenager. Your child can spend endless amounts of time scrolling through social media, messaging in a group chat, or watching the latest TikTok. I know even as adults, we get distracted easily. I find myself, scrolling through Facebook, half an hour would have passed. So of course, our children, that happens with them as well. Help your child to stay sharp and focused by removing all distractions, like the cell phone and other electronic devices. Parents, respect your child's study time and minimize disruptions during the designated study time. Resist the urge, parents, to call them to come and pass you the remote. Fifthly, ensure that your child gets sufficient rest at night and eats healthy meals and snacks. Like our bodies, our brain needs fuel to function effectively. Ensure they have a healthy breakfast. And I know as teenagers, it's really, really embarrassing when the exam room is quiet and their stomach growls loudly because they did not have the proper breakfast. So please help them to not be embarrassed and help them to be able to focus during the exam. So adequate rest and proper nutrition will help your child to be focused. Lastly, as a parent, support and encourage your child, your junior high school and your senior high school child. Tell them that you know that they will do well because they have studied. Encourage them to do their best. Check on them as they study. If you can, help them to review topics or test them. Just knowing that you are supporting them will help them to be more relaxed and confident during their exams. So just to recap, remember the 6 S's. Ensure your child has a study area, the needed study materials, a study timetable, ensure that they stay sharp by removing all distractions, ensure that they have adequate sleep and proper nutrition, and most importantly, provide support and encouragement. I am sure when implemented, these recommendations and tips that we have all shared tonight will assist your child in performing well on their exams and eliminate the anxiety, the butterflies, and the distractions. Thank you.
I am certain that if you commit to following the tips presented by E.O. Smith Burroughs and D.S. White, our boys and girls will indeed be very, very successful. You will get those A's, those B's that all of us want them to achieve. It is that special time of the year again, but I'm not speaking about Christmas, parents. It is the time when we focus on our national examinations. Here to present information on its importance, the registration process, and preparation is Mrs. Betty Taylor, Acting Senior Education Officer with responsibility for the Bahamas High School Diploma.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here to speak on how the national examinations will impact the Bahamas High School Diploma. As you know, the Bahamas High School Diploma has been reviewed, and we have 3 variations of the Bahamas High School Diploma at this time that will ensure that more students can obtain the diploma when they leave high school. So we are excited about that, and I will explain to you right now those 3 diplomas that we have in effect. They are General 1, General 2, and an honors diploma. General 1 requires that the students have a cumulative grade point average of a 2.00. They must obtain 30 community service hours, 20 hours of job readiness, a cumulative attendance and punctuality of 80%, and then the change came in drastically for the BJCs, we now have the BJCs opened up to obtain not only the 4 BJCs with D or a higher grade, but English and math being mandatory, a child now can have any other 2 BJCs. Okay, so we now have 4 BJCs in total. That hasn't changed, but you now have the opportunity, besides math and English, to obtain 2 other BJCs like technical drawing, art and craft, and family and consumer science. You can now also get those BJCs. That is our General 1 diploma. General 2 diploma speaks to those persons who have still the cumulative GPA of 2.0, still they have the 30 hours of community service, they still have the 20 hours of job readiness, and also the 80% attendance and punctuality. You may see pending across the screen. The reason for that is we want to include every child. We don't want no child left behind. And so our awesome education officers have looked up on various certifications, and they have sent their recommendations to Examination and Assessment Division and NACOB to ensure that we can find the equivalencies for those persons who are taking the Trinity of Music examination, those who are taking the Pittman examinations, literacy and numeracy, so that every child, whether you are at the school for the deaf, whether you are a special in a special school, or whether you are a center for the blind, you will be able to obtain this General 2 diploma once we have already looked at all of the equivalencies from NACOB and Testing and Evaluation, Examination and Assessment Division, as well as the committee is going to come together to ensure that this child, the child who actually receives this diploma, is not disadvantaged or disenfranchised in any way. They will look at things that the child cannot possibly do community service. What else can they possibly do to obtain this diploma? So that's why it's still pending. Our 3rd diploma is the honors diploma, and this is for those students who obtain the 3.00 GPA cumulative or higher. They still have the 30 hours of community service, they still have the 20 hours of job readiness, and they still have the 80% attendance and punctuality. However, these are those students who do so much more. They go above and beyond. And so they would be the ones who have the B grade or higher in BJCs. Now, because these are those children who are going to step above and beyond, we look at the BJCs English language, mathematics, and science, okay? Because they're those ones who are going beyond, we look at that, plus any other BJC. So it's still the 4, however, we're looking at the B grade or higher. Now, these children, like I say, they go above and beyond. So therefore, they're going to also be looking at the 3 extracurricular activities and a leadership role. Now, please bear in mind, your leadership role can be the leader of the basketball team. You can be the chaplain for the Kiwanis Club. You can actually be the dance troupe leader in your church. We look at all of those as leadership roles. So we look to that student. Also, for those persons who have the 3.0 GPA and higher, we look at you having your 3 BGCSEs by the end of grade 11 going into grade 12. Your 3 BGCSEs. And guess what? We didn't put any stipulations on what those 3 BGCSEs are, because we know for you to actually have 3 BGCSEs, you are that exceptional student. And so therefore we say any 3 BGCSEs with C grade, or higher, we will look at those as well for that honors diploma. However, you may be that child who is deciding that, listen, I want to go off to an international university. And so your SAT scores of 1,000 or better, we also look at that. Or your ACT score of 20 or higher, we also look at that. So that's not, you don't have to have all 3. You can if you want to. However, it's an or. Either you have 3 BGCSEs, or you have the SAT score of 1,000 or higher, or you have the ACT score of 20 or higher. Now, I know from looking at those slides, you would have seen BJCs, BJCs, BJCs. That's how important BJCs are to obtaining your Bahamas High School diploma. Now, we know that it's an exiting exam for the junior high school, but there are some children that teachers, we have some awesome teachers that should see the potential in these kids, and they offer them extra classes, morning, lunchtime, after school. And some of those kids have the ability to take the exams in grade 8. And so some teachers sign them up for those BJCs in grade 8. Now, you may say, well, Ms. Taylor, grade 8, yes, they go above and beyond, and so therefore they are able to take that in grade 8. But guess what? If they, and like that my colleagues have said, there's no pressure. If they don't pass it in grade 8, they still have grade 9 to do it. However, we do not want our kids leaving junior school without obtaining those BJCs. Now, although the high school diploma says math and English is mandatory, those 5 core BJCs, we are expecting all of our children to have those 5 core BJCs. If you don't know what they are, mathematics, English language, science, science, it could be general or health, social studies, religious studies, in addition to your CTE subject, okay? So please make sure that you are leaving junior school with those 5 core BJC subjects. We do not recommend that you go into senior school without having the BJCs. Why would you put yourself in that position? Think about it. You would have had 2 to 3 years to get your BJCs in junior high school. When you go into the senior high school, that's 8 months to do the same thing you would have had 2 or 3 years to do. So that's even more stress. And the anxiety that Ms. Wells spoke about, that's going to come in right there. So please try and get your BJCs at the junior high school level so that when you get into senior high school, you can relax and move on to the BGCSEs. BGCSEs are also important. As you heard, to obtain that honors diploma, you must have those BGCSEs before grade 12, before the end of grade 12. So in order to do that, you must have the BJCs from junior high school first, so that teachers can now work with you for grade 10 and grade 11 to get those BGCSEs. You can have it in any subject, like said before, so please ensure that you try to push yourself as much as possible. And guess what? Those BJCs can be at the core level. Math at the core level, English at the core level, biology at the core level. You can, once you have that C, that's the core level, and you will get your honors diploma. And you can again take those BGCSEs in grade 12 at the extended level with recommendations from your teachers. So you can have a better grade if that's what you're looking for. So there's no disadvantage to you. And we want to make sure, like I said, that all of our kids are prepared. This is November. November. All schools at this point in time should have given out their forms for BJC and BGCSEs. Parents, if you do not see a form come home to you, please ask your child to go to the office or the guidance department and get that form. This is the time it needs to be filled out. They need to have your signature. They also need to have recommendations from their teachers if they're in grade 8 or 11. Grade 9 and 12 just need to make sure that they get their coursework in to the appropriate teachers. They have to sign up, and they need to pay. They need to pay for those exams before the end of, well, this week technically. Most schools would have given their deadline for the end of November, and they probably would have extended it to the end of this week. But I know fully that there are some schools, they will have compassion on you. We know that payday just passed. And so therefore, before your child leaves to enjoy their Christmas break, make sure that you pay for your BJC and BGCSEs, because they need to have that into testing and evaluation by the 15th of December. So please make sure that you pay for those so there's nothing lacking for your child to obtain that diploma. Also, parents, please note, like my colleagues have said, you want to encourage your children to make sure that they do have a schedule for studying, not only for final exams, but a schedule for studying for the BJCs and the BGCSEs. These exams cannot wait for the week before and you just flip through the pages and think that whatever you flip in through the page will stick inside of your head. You need to listen to all the tips that were spoken of here in this session and take them to heart. Create those schedules. Have those children practicing. I know for me, when I was in school, I always created an examination. So therefore, I will take a spot like these ladies have spoken and a quiet spot in the home and actually work through an examination for the full time. So that eases the tension of actually sitting in an exam for those 2 hours or that hour and a half. So please have them practice that. And another tip, have some little orange slices in a bag as snacks. Those orange slices right before the exam, keep them up and keep their minds ticking and going. Thank you so much, and I hope you are prepared for these examinations.
Parents, every child counts, and we want all of our students to be successful. We are our children's village of support and motivation. Now, parents, we want to hear from you. It is your time to ask those burning questions. We will address the questions you have sent. You are encouraged to remain muted. If you have more questions or comments, please share in our question and answer chat box. We have a question. This question is for Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor, why is it that teachers are refusing to sign students up for BGCSEs in the 11th grade for the experience and exposure, especially if the parent is willing to go the extra mile with that child to prepare them?
First of all, grade 11, because BGCSE is a senior school accident exam, they have to be recommended by the teacher. The teacher makes the recommendation based on what they would have taught the student and the potential that they see inside of the class. So if you are giving your child extra classes or paying for tutoring, that needs to be reflected in their class, in their work, for the teachers to recommend them. If they do not see that, then they will not recommend them for the BGCSEs.
There you have it. Director Russell, this is for you. Why did we change the grading system to include minuses and pluses? And why has the A category been reduced? And A now begins from 95. Previously, it was 90. This is very discouraging for most students, especially high-flying students.
The grading system was changed to reflect our BGCSE grading system. It is a 7-point system, and it correlates with that, and that's one of the reasons why it was changed. We wanted to see how our children fared, how they did from A to a G. In regards to the A, I'm certain the A minus is not a 95, but we certainly would review it based on the fact that this is not the first time that this has come up. Several parents have actually indicated that there may be some issues with this, and so we're definitely going to review it.
Thank you. Ms. Wells, my child is always nervous around test time, and I am nervous as a parent. What are some things that I can do to calm myself down and in turn calm my child down?
Okay, so during the testing time, as a parent, I would say before testing time, try to have a relationship with the school, the child's teacher, so that you can have the schedule, you can know what's being covered, so that even though you may not be as familiar with the material, you yourself will be able to assist in that regard. Now, as it relates to remaining calm, one of the things is that we talked earlier about breathing. Breathing is a very important part of remaining calm. And so I would like to encourage you to practice some of the breathing techniques where we would encompass closing your eyes, quieting your area. Today we were playing some really good music in the atmosphere. It helps to calm you down. I know that you may be feeling overwhelmed as a parent because you may say, well, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing to help my child. But once you are there and supporting the child, and the child can feel your presence in the process, both of you will get through it together. With the child in particular, ensure that the child has a study schedule. We kept talking about that tonight. Make sure that they have a study schedule that they're sticking to, taking the small breaks in between. And even if you don't know the subject, I will tell you what my mother used to do. She used to take the book, she would read through it, and she would say, that's not what the book said, all right? And she would test us. And so You could help your child by saying, okay, so give me the answer for this or spell this word. And you'll find that because you are engaging and helping in the process, the child then feels as if we're doing this together. And it should be where there's a level of calm and just reaffirm to the child that, listen, I want you to just do your best. Mommy or daddy, Grampy, we're going to be proud of you no matter what. Yes, we won the A. We won the B. We really don't, want to see, but if you make the C and that's your best, we'll take it because guess what? Next time you get the A or the B. And so just don't forget the breathing techniques and stay calm and don't forget to ask for help in the process.
Thank you. The rest of the world is moving away from standardized testing. Why are we stressing our primary school children with GLAD in grades 3 and 6? AD Jack?
The intention behind the GLAD exam is not to stress students out. The GLAD exam is a diagnostic test that gives us the strengths and weaknesses of students. And think about it, parents. When you're not feeling well, you go to the doctor. The doctor has to run a series of tests, and then he or she comes up with a diagnosis and then gives a course of treatment. And that's exactly what the GLAD exam is supposed to do. It allows us, like I said, to know the strengths and weaknesses of students. We also, we have the GLAD exam, but we also have other ways of letting us know how students are doing, such as the teacher-made tests, class assignments, and then we also have projects. So we try to use a little variety of ways of assessing students to see if they actually understood what was taught.
Thank you. I am a single parent with 3 children. I wasn't good in school, but I want my children to do better than me. What are schools doing to help people like me? Director?
Once a month for all of our schools. And our parents, our team members, our principals and administrators, along with the staff, assist our parents with that kind of support. So I would encourage you to attend those meetings. They provide self-help, sometimes training, even the Ministry of Education. We provide support if you want to take BJCs, you want to take BGCSEs. We have those continuing education classes as well. And so I would reach out to the school and see how they can support you to assist your child.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Central Eleuthera High has a teacher shortage. Will this problem be addressed by the new school year? Parents, we do our best. When we have our teachers, we place them in the family island first. That is our goal, to ensure that our family island schools are outfitted with teachers. So your question is, will you have a teacher? Most definitely. And we're looking to ensure that all of our schools are outfitted with the teachers that they need. Okay? Another question that was posed. My child is in grade 6 in the government school, and he hates writing, and writing is tested. How can I help him to get ready for his exams, especially GLAD?
But when you're looking at writing, you're concerned with the content, what you're going to write, but also mechanics, how you write it. So I could recall being a student in a grade 5 class. The teacher gave the writing assignment. and I had nothing to write about. But the student on my left was writing, and the student on my right was writing. And the problem was, I really did not have that experience to relate to. And so, one of your jobs as parents is to broaden your children's horizons. And that means providing experiences for them. Take advantage of things happening in the community. Go see a play, maybe a concert. Take them to the beach. You can also engage them in art classes or music classes. Sign them up for gymnastics, but you want to get them involved and engaged. You also want to look at expanding their vocabulary. So let's say they're eating carrots and you ask them how it tastes. And they can say, oh, the carrot tastes nice. But you want something more than that. Tell me more. Use your senses. Okay, so I am eating a nice, delicious, sweet, crunchy carrot. So encourage them to use those descriptive words. You can also expand their vocabulary by reading to them, maybe just slightly above their reading levels. In the car, as you're driving, play those audible books. I used to love the Anne of Green Gables series. And sometimes you arrive at your destination and you're still sitting in the car because you want to hear what's happening next. But that exposes them to rich language, good literature. And then you also, if you can, allow them to travel physically, or if not, via the internet. You don't have to go physically to see the Glass Window Bridge in Eleuthera, but you can certainly Zoom, use the internet, and learn all about the Glass Window Bridge. But you actually want them to look at the mechanics side of it. So you want them to write incomplete sentences. You want to encourage them to do well on their spelling test so that they don't misspell so many words as they're writing. And then you also want to encourage them to read so that they encourage or that they encounter these rich words in their reading. But the only way to get better at writing is to actually practice it. And so as you create experience for them, have them to write about it. And maybe create a scrapbook and look back at it, Good?
Wonderful. Thank you. Where do I go to register for a BGCSE exam that my child didn't pass last year since graduating?
Okay, if your child did not pass the BGCSE last year and they have already graduated school and they still want to do that, you have to go directly to EAD, Examination and Assessment Division on Harold Road, Tonic Williams Darling Highway, and register there as a private candidate. However, they will also recommend that their child also be registered with an institution so that they can get the skills that is needed for that examination, not just a tutor. You may check Cybertech or one of those, BTVI, or one of those other institutions so that they can get the necessary skills that they may have lacked from not obtaining that BGCSE.
Thank you. How does the ministry deal with outbreaks such as scabies, Director?
Well, we recently had a scare, and one of the things that we would have done is, of course, engage our community clinics. We would have invited the nurses, the doctors to screen our team and students. And once the screening has taken place and there was a case, those students or anyone who may have the symptoms would isolate, would be required to quarantine. And of course, we would deep clean the environment. And the nurses and doctors would have also provided training for our team members and parents, in particular in terms of, the cleanliness of their home environments, how to prevent and how to treat the incidences of scabies. And so because we've had the scare already, those students who would have had scabies and who were quarantined are actually back in school now, and they are preparing for their exams.
My concern is, why don't high schools have parent-teacher conferences? Shouldn't parents meet our child's teachers, their child's teachers, so that we can know how they're doing in classes, so that any problems they're having can be resolved before report card day?
During the commission exercise, they would have recommended that we remove the parent-teacher conference. And the reason that was recommended was we did not want to penalize children if parents did not attend conferences. So it was not a requirement for the Bahamas High School diploma. However, we encourage parents to participate in their children's education. And so we do encourage parents to meet with their children's teachers. And so you would find schools have open houses, schools have midterm progress reports, schools have PTA meetings where you actually get to connect with the child's teachers on a one-on-one. Teachers bring in their records so they're able to show you where your children are faring. And not only that, parents, you have access to your children's grades through the EMIS. You can get your own password, your own ID, and you're able to monitor your children's progress online. And once you look at those grades, and the attendance and punctuality, you're able to meet with your child's teachers and, of course, discuss their progress. So those things are in place.
Thank you, Director. I have not seen my child bring home any homework assignments or test papers since school opened. How are we supposed to prepare him for his exams, A.D. Culmer?
Director Moss, a very interesting question. One of the things we would want to encourage parents to do in that situation is to ensure we are connecting with our schools. The Department of Education and Ministry of Education has invested heavily what we call the EMIS. And the EMIS has capacity for parents to connect with the school. The director would have just mentioned that. They can check attendance, they can check grades, they can see what's taking place. Also, almost every school has a Facebook page. Every teacher is following schemes of work, the pacing guides set by the Department of Education. And so there is no reason that I can honestly think or imagine why any parent or any child can say we don't have work. You're just gonna have to ask, connect with the school, and you will find out what your student has been doing.
Get is that we're giving them too much homework. And so parents, reach out to your teachers because that child may not be telling the truth.
Okay, thank you, Director and ADE Culmer. The Bahamas High School diploma was revised. What opportunities exist for persons who already graduated and were unsuccessful using the previous criteria? They would have left school without the Bahamas High School diploma. What do I do?
Okay, thank you for that question. First of all, right now we are implementing the 2023 class of 2023 with the new criterias and moving forward. However, we are looking back at cases from 2017 where there may have been a complaint by the parent or a situation by the school. If you feel that you were disenfranchised for not obtaining that diploma between those years, go back to your school, put in a query through your school so it can come to us. We will look at the query and make the recommendation to the director, and once it's approved, you will get that diploma. However, all your information needs to be there. You can't say, oh, I did not get my diploma, but then you did not do community service hours. If you're sure that you did those things, you completed all those components, then go back to the school and make the query. We do not handle situations with parents and students at the Ministry of Education. We try to work with the schools because the information is coming to us from the schools. So if there's something that you missed or they missed and you have copies of it, take the copies back to the school, let them forward them to us, and we will work from there. We will also be implementing a help desk for those situations where persons can email or call in to find out more information or other queries that they may have.
Yeah. And may I put a plug in for BTVI? BTVI has a Smart Start program for any young person who did not graduate with a diploma. You're able to attend BTVI, participate in the Smart Start program. You're also able to register and take one of their trades courses. They have a plethora of excellent programs for you. Listen, go there, take a tour. You will be surprised at the offerings and what you can achieve once you enroll. And so we recommend the Smart Start program or any other one of their trades. And they have construction and welding and plumbing, ICTs, you name it, cosmetology, business administration, the media specialties. When I visited there, I was so encouraged and amazed by the new offerings that they have there. And so, it's not too late. It's never too late to learn. And so visit that school. Tell them Minister Glennis Hannah Martin sent you.
Thank you, Director. Remember, the Honorable Minister sent you, okay? Good evening. Can you give an update on the LMS? When will parents be able to sign in with their credentials to allow for monitoring their child's progress?
Parents have been able to do that for a little while now. Parents are able to see their child's progress. And so if you in particular are not able to do so, it may mean that you may have some issues with your email. And so just reach out through your child's school. We'll make sure that you get your user ID and your password. But parents are able to do that now.
Okay, wonderful. I have children, one in C.H. Reeves and one in R.M. Bailey. I know one signed up for BJCs and the other for BGCSEs. Do they cost the same thing? And when we are expected to pay?
BJCs and BGCSEs do not cost the same amount. BJCs are $5 per subject plus a registration fee of $5. BGCSEs is $15 per subject with no registration fee. However, there was a situation, if you are unable to pay, speak with your guidance counselors. Sometimes there was a case where teachers even come together and pay for students BGCSEs and BJCs. So don't keep quiet about it. Speak to your guidance counselors and you may get the help that you need, but they do not cost the same.
And we're going to have our last question. I know some schools let children write BGCSEs in grade 11. How does this benefit children, and what BGCSEs could they do in grade 11?
It will benefit the kids who are applying for or who is trying to obtain the honors diploma for one. It also benefits those who are applying for scholarships because that is done from February, if I'm correct, of the next year, February 2024. And so therefore, if you have your BGCSEs, that makes you a better candidate because you would have had that. Also, for those persons who have not signed up for their BGCSEs as yet, you need to do so quickly to have that done. For grade 11, it has to be that you're recommended for your teachers. The subjects that are available, I know for certain that you can do mathematics core, English core, and biology core subjects, but you have to be recommended by your subject teacher. Now, those other subject areas like business studies, like keyboarding, and all of those other subject areas, your teachers can also recommend you for those. I know of some schools where they take keyboarding in grade 10 BGCSEs because it is possible to do that. So please check with your teachers. Make sure that if you are interested, because sometimes the teacher doesn't see that interest in you, but you're interested and you are willing to put in that extra work. You're willing to go and do the extra classes. Go and let your teacher know that you're interested. And it's not too late to actually register for those subjects as well.
Parents, you are awesome. I just want to inform you that this session will be available for viewing on the ministry's Facebook page by 10 p.m. and thereafter. So you can tell the others that if they missed us tonight, they are free after 10 p.m. tonight. They can go and view this session to get the pertinent information shared here. Let me say, you were dynamic parents. We're so happy that you choose to spend this time with us. You got the information. It takes a village. That's you, that's us at the ministry and the community. We have to work together and work hard for our children. We can do this together. We can have, and we do have the brightest and the most brilliant children in the whole entire world. Our children are talented. They are gifted beyond our imagination. Thank you again for spending this time with us. We must extend gratitude to everyone who made this session possible this evening. Thank you, Minister Martin, for leading the charge for us to collaborate and meet with our parents. Thank you, P.S. Ambrista, for your remarks and being here. Your presence means a lot. And our able, our capable, our dynamic director, thank you for all that you continue to do for our boys and girls. Weren't our presenters dynamic? They were absolutely divine. Thank you, presenters, for your remarks and your tips. I had to write down some to calm my butterflies and to keep me calm. So thank you very, very much. To our communications department, we could not do this without you. Your professional and timely response to our needs. We are indeed very, very grateful. And you parents, you are the greatest partners, and we value you. I want you to remember this as we leave. You are the ultimate role models for children. Every word, movement, and action have an effect. No other person or outside force has a greater influence on a child than you, the parent. Stay safe and have a wonderful evening.